What you're looking at here is Tom Blanchet on Laura Ingraham's show giving the lawyers for Kilmer Abrego Garcia, who's a Maryland man who the Trump administration deported despite him having a judge saying he shouldn't be deported, right? They made a mistake. They even said that it was a mistake. So all 9 justices of the Supreme Court, by the way, issued an order saying facilitate that guy's return. And then our judge was annoyed because the judge says, the Supreme Court says you got to return this guy. So that's the order, right? That's what they were supposed to do. Instead of returning him because they were mad about that, you know what they did? They went and looked and found some reason to bring him back to prosecute him, which is against the law. Vindictive prosecution. To prove vindictive prosecution is very, very difficult. But Tom Blanchet giving it up. Like he's just like, he can't help himself. But here, listen to Matthew Dowd, who's a commentator, explain what essentially they did. Because they were mad about that. You know what they did? They went and looked and found some reason to bring him back to prosecute him, which is against the law. Vindictive prosecution. To prove vindictive prosecution is very, very difficult. But Tom Blanchet giving it up. Like he's just like, he can't help himself. But here, listen to Matthew Dowd, who's a commentator, explain what essentially they did. Listen here.
It is basically, we're going to engineer this in such a way is we decide somebody we don't like, and we're going to do with them what we want. And when they're caught, when we're caught, we're going to bring the full force of the American government to try to find anything we possibly can to rationalize the mistakes we made to begin with.
That is what they did. Is say we're mad at you. We decided we don't want you in this country, even though they're not supposed to. And we're gonna look for something. Right. And we're gonna look for something. That's textbook vindictive prosecution. And so here goes Tom Blanchet on Laura Ingraham essentially proving the point. Listen to this.
And we deported him. We got him out of here. And a judge in Maryland and many members of Congress, we had a senator fly down to meet with him, questioned that decision and said, oh no, he's just a family man. And so we said, okay, we'll look into it. And when we started looking into it, and we have great law enforcement officers and prosecutors who started studying this man and investigating him, and what we found is that we were right. We were right. He is a criminal who should be deported. And at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to protect the American people and to keep our country safe. And so he was indicted, and he was indicted on very serious charges because of very serious conduct that we learned about during our investigation. And so he's returned, but he's not returned for any other reason than to face justice, period.
So this had nothing to do with Judge Boasberg's decision, which I thought was, over the top. Supreme Court saying, you got to try to facilitate the return. So you're saying tonight that warning of possible contempt charges against administration officials, none of that had anything to do with the investigation?
No, I mean, first of all, the Supreme Court stayed any contempt proceedings by Judge Boasberg. That case has been stayed. In this case, we had a judge in Maryland tell us that, oh no, there's not any evidence that he's a member of MS-13. You had no right to deport him. And so what should we do as a Department of Justice when a judge is accusing us of doing something wrong? We have an obligation to everybody, including you, to investigate it. And that's exactly what we did. And so the reason why he was returned and the facilitation that brought him back here is not a judge, it's an arrest warrant issue.
Hello. And that clip was cited in Judge Waverly Crenshaw decision to grant Kilmer Abrego Garcia the next step. So now that he's proven it, the next stage is evidentiary hearings where they exchange documents and they're trying to hammer it down. So again, that's just one example. So this is the second example where the Trump administration say things on social media, feeding their rabid MAGA base that contradict what they're trying to argue. So remember, I told you the Supreme Court said bring him back. In the dockets, they've been saying, we're in the process of bringing him back. We're trying to bring him back. No, because every time they say that, Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, the President Bukele are on TV saying, he's not coming back. He's not coming back. We're not bringing him back. So of course the man's lawyer is going to be like, Your Honor, the Supreme Court and you said bring him back, and they're ignoring you. They're saying no, he's not coming back. And then when they do bring him back, like what the guy Tom Blanchet confessed, they did it because they're mad, and they looked and they found a reason, so they made it up. That's classic vindictive prosecution. When I tell y'all, they're just a bumbling fools. They can't help themselves. They have no emotional intelligence, no strategy whatsoever. Now here's 4 more examples. So they did that. So actually 3 more examples. So there's that, which is a recent one. There's him saying, them no self-control. So not only did they just get caught the second time after previously popping off and getting caught, and now they're up for potentially criminal contempt in Jim Boasberg and also in Paula Zenas's courtroom for lying, saying one thing, dockets, and then saying something else on social media. Here's another example. Remember when Elon Musk was taking a chainsaw and tweeting out how he's cutting all these departments? Remember when Donald Trump thanked Elon Musk in front of a joint session of Congress and said, Stand up, Elon? Remember when Donald Trump went with Elon and sat down side by side as Sean Hannity, and Donald Trump says, Elon, you're doing a great job? All that's public, right? Tell me why in the dockets, I'm JJ Legal, I'm in the dockets. In the dockets, they presented this woman named Amy Gleason. She did a declaration that said that she is the Doge administrator. 2 weeks after that, or about a week after, the plaintiffs discovered that Amy Gleason took a job at the Department of Homeland Health and Human Services. So they say this woman is an administrator. Not only is Elon on social media, on TV, saying that he's the administrator, she don't even work there. She worked in an earlier version of Doge. So Doge under Barack Obama was an agency he created in order to modernize the websites for the government. Donald Trump took over that website, doing something different with it. What he was doing with it is the type of stuff, it's like an agency. It needs to be an agency level. The Congress needs to have given authorization for Doge. Congress needs to have confirmed, the Senate needs to have confirmed whoever's in charge of that. The type of stuff, the autonomy that Elon Musk had to cut departments, that is cabinet level stuff. He should have been confirmed. He was not confirmed. I'm in the docket, so I'm seeing the different way they call themselves transparent. They were trying to shift Elon's who he was and his title because what Elon was doing was the type of stuff that needed him to either have a conflict form to recuse himself. If he refused to recuse himself and he did stuff for which he has a benefit, he's a contractor, he's subject to jail time. So Elon right now is subject to jail. Under another administration, they can take what Elon did, which is jailable, and prosecute him and throw him in jail. When he left, he fell out with Donald Trump. The documents, because of discovery, they discovered that they said that Elon never was in Doge. They're just lying. They just make up stuff, like as if we don't see him. So that's the third example. Another example. Kristi Noem said she revoked the TPS status of Venezuela and Haiti because their countries were okay now. The judge, Ed Chen, was like, girl, we see you on social media talking about these people are criminal and all the stuff you're saying about them, all the stereotypes of they're rapists or stuff like that. That's racist. You revoked them because you're a racist asshole. He didn't say racist asshole. I'm saying that. And you can't revoke that. And that's what he said. I'm not going to get into the fact that the Supreme Court paused, whatever. But he was like, no, you can't do that. You can't revoke that for that. And by the way, Department of State, they just issued an order saying that Americans shouldn't go to Haiti because of gang violence, because of instability. So which one is right? Department of State telling Americans don't go to Haiti, or you saying I am revoking their TPS status because their country's safe now? No coordination whatsoever. And then one more example for you is that when there was this kid named Jordan Melgaston Marone who also was deported to CCOD, despite the fact that he was part of a class of unaccompanied minors from Venezuela who had come before 2019. And under the class settlement, none of those kids were supposed to be removed from the United States, but they removed him when they were gathering around all those Venezuelans to send without due process based on bogus bullshit lies to a CCOT prison in El Salvador to get tortured. So the judge, I think it was Stephanie Gallagher, was asking the Trump administration to return him. The Trump administration admitted it was a mistake. They were like, yeah, we weren't supposed to send him. It was him and like a few other people. And so she's like, okay, what's the process? And they were like, we're bringing him back. Why was Tricia McLaughlin, the other Kristi Noem's deputy, Homeland Security, who's also the mouthpiece, she too was in social media like, we're not bringing Jordan back because he's a criminal, he's a da da da. So of course Jordan's lawyers were like, Your Honor, they say in the dockets that they're bringing him back. This woman is saying they're not bringing him back because he's a criminal. No coordination, no emotional intelligence. They're just cold. They're just callous. Everyone they accuse are just based on racism because they are inept. There's a special place in hell for all of them because they're just cruel people. And I just cannot wait till we reclaim power, till we see all of these women, all of these people who are complicit in the cruel treatment of other fellow human beings, children, all sorts of stuff, go on trial and made to answer for things. I don't know if they're going to be crying when they know the prosecutor, or they're going to be stone faced. I don't know. I'm not quite sure, because the way they are, so like, they act like as if Roger Stone and Steve Bannon weren't convicted to jail time for either like a contempt of Congress or for perjury. They act as if Rudy Giuliani didn't lose his house and is being sued and lost his law license. They act like if there hasn't been like 6 or 7 Trump lawyers who've lost their law license for helping Donald Trump with his unlawful things. They act like as if there haven't been several Trump associates ended up in jail for their actions. And they're not immune. Right now, Donald Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, is facing criminal prosecution in the state of Georgia. You know what that means? That's in the state of Georgia. It means that Donald Trump cannot pardon him. So I always say this, like, do you guys plan to hop into the grave when Donald Trump goes? Because he's 79. So I know people think that he's a vampire, he's going to live forever, but he's failing in health. So when he goes in his grip, you know, you Project 2025 people, I know you guys are puppeteering and stuff like that, but at some point we're going to regain power. And like, what do you guys plan on doing? Like Russell Vogt, have you picked out your jumpsuit? I can't believe that guy is 49. I am 3 years older than Russell Vogt. That's what happens when you're evil. They want an ethno-Christian state. They want to remove all non-white, non-Christians from America. And that's their effort to do it. They're going to fail. But anyway, JJ Legal, each one teach one. Share this video. Let other people know. Go to jjlegal.com. Sign up for my newsletter so you get this information in your inbox just in case something happens with social media. Share the video. Binge watch my playlist. Yeah. Talk to you soon.